Dear patriots and citizens of our country who are worried about safety in Finland and desiring for peace. Today we are celebrating independence of Finland for the 97th time. Therefore, this is an excellent day to gather together here in the middle of our capital. First of all, we are gathered here to promote Citizens' Initiative organized by FDL first time in January, which is now initiative number 889. In a nutshell, our initiative is containing following. Citizens and people permanently residing in Finland who have traveled to Syria and other crisis zones to militate may cause a threat for national safety. We undersign demand for following addition in criminal law. Foreign-born persons who have granted citizenship or permanent residence permit in Finland who participate in armed conflicts abroad will be sentenced to lose their citizenship or permanent residence permit. In case that person recruits army of legal government in former home country, cancellation of citizenship is not appropriate. Secondly, we are gathered here also because we resist terrorism, radicalism, and violence. Third reason why we are here is that we hope for every single person living in Finland to wake up and understand the fact that the threat of terrorism and radicalism is real in Finland too. Mika Aaltola, Program Director in the Finnish Institute of International Affairs, reminds that threat of terrorism is real in Finland too, although main scenes of terrorist outrage are far from Nordic countries. We don't want to incite panic or fear, but we do want that peace-loving people living in our country start to wake up for this possible threat. There are about 50 persons who have traveled to Syria from Finland to participate jihad as jihadists or possibly as martyrs. Some of them have joined barbaric terrorist group ISIS. I believe it is needless to tell you more about this group. National Bureau of Investigation arrested 3 people suspected of sponsoring terrorism in October. On 13th of October, Finnish Security Intelligence Service informed that about 20 jihadists have returned to Finland from Syria. But in their view, there is no threat of terrorism. Some of those persons didn't want to converse with officials, and that, if anything, is quite particular. We may also deliberate these jihadists' motives of returning to Finland. Earlier in this year, Teemu Sinkkonen, terrorism researcher, stated that we should take returning jihadists back to Finland and tend to adapt them in normal society and provide them therapy. Meanwhile, the state debt is growing and number of people in breadline increasing, and some of our elderly persons are still left without proper care. They are planning therapy for jihadists returning to our country. This is not right. Our decision makers are making absurd decisions. What should our decision makers do for safety in Finland? Finland could learn from example of other countries. Germany has criminalized propaganda, recruitment and showing symbols of radical Islamic group ISIS. The ban is also including propaganda in social media. Britain is going to prevent returning of jihadists who leave from the country to participate in wars. The country is going to cancel jihadists' passports and set landing prohibition for airlines which are not following the list of grounded persons. According to British media, the Parliament is targeting to process the proposal to prevent returning of person fighting in Iraq or Syria for at least 2 years. Finland must also cancel passports and citizenship of all returning jihadists and send them back to where they came from. We don't need to provide any therapy sessions for them, especially if they have participated in murdering, torturing and raping. Finland does not need that kind of persons at all. The threat for the whole world caused by ISIS is growing in the Middle East. Meanwhile, our politicians are holding consultations concerning joining NATO. ISIS is already in Libya, about 300 kilometers from border of European Union. Our politicians still don't have the courage to send arms to support groups fighting against ISIS or to train Kurds who voluntarily travel to fight against ISIS. Apparently, our politicians still don't understand the threat of barbaric ISIS to the whole world is real. There are approximately 30,000 barbarians fighting in ISIS. About 4,000 of them are from Europe and other countries. Our decision makers also should focus attention more on safety of people living in our country. Resources of police have reduced, which is a huge disgrace. On the 19th November, the Finnish Police Federation organized a protest march which gathered about 1,000 police officers. They were also concerned about citizens' legal protection and they wanted to arouse public discussion about internal security. According to calculations of the Finnish Police Federation, there is average one police officer for 400 citizens in Europe. In Finland, there are almost 50% less, one police officer for 733 citizens. Fortunately, the government has assigned 3 million euros for counter-terrorism. The government decided for the extra funding at negotiation of amendments to next year. But while the safety of our country is threatened, our decision makers are more interested in building Guggenheim Museum in Finland or visiting in TV comedies. As their employers, do people of Finland really have to pay for that kind of work? Since our decision makers are incapable of making real decisions, at least we, citizens, must stay awake. Inform the authorities about all suspicious perceptions. Remember to avoid excessive action and act within the limits of law. To guarantee the public peace, we must also keep from unnecessary controversy and hate-monger. We must not mark any group of people because a small part of them is participating in criminal actions. We also need to remember that some of jihadists who have traveled to Syria are fully Finnish on their ancestry. They are not more welcome back to Finland than any other person who has left to join ISIS. All the people wishing for peace living in Finland must work together. And consistent front for this question. Skin color, religion, or political affiliation must not be hindrance for this front. Together we are strong. The citizens of Finland must start pressing our political decision makers, and that's why I urge you. Use that little moment to sign our initiative. Maiden of Finland needs support from each of you. And finally, I want to wish you all a very happy and safe Independence Day. Thank you.